everyone, I'm Jeff Wieland, the host of the WB Download, and I want to invite you and welcome you to our podcast. My brother and I own and operate Wieland Builders. It's a custom home building company here in Southwest Ohio. The WB Download mostly focuses on interviewing folks associated with custom building. We stray now and then to interview people who I think are interesting and to break up the monotony of the same old podcast. I also like to highlight things that are going on in my everyday life along with our businesses. I started this podcast to help people understand the custom builder world, but to also give people a chance to hear what others have to say and highlight their expertise and experiences in life. We drop on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month with a new topic and or guest each time. I hope you join us here on the WB Download and enjoy listening and hearing stories of people in and out of the custom builder world. Welcome to the WB Download. All right. Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to 2025, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome to the WB Download. We had a successful year in 2024. It's great looking back on it. And of course, when we look forward to 2025, we're pretty excited about it because we got a lot of stuff going on. This team that we have here at Wieland Builders is just killing it, and we're excited about the customers that we have to work with. So, a few happenings that I want to talk about for us. For one, last week it was Robin Hauser's birthday here at Wieland Builders, and Robin's been here with the company for 11 years, and we're grateful to have her here. So, if you see her, make sure you wish her a happy birthday, belated birthday. Also, my wife's Shannon's birthday, her birthday was on Sunday. So if you see her, wish her a happy birthday and be sure to comment on her age because she loves it. She thinks that's super funny. On New Year's Day, we had our first calf of the year. And of course, Raina named her Taylor. So at the county fair this year, Cody's show market steer will be named Travis and Raina's heifer will be named Taylor. So we'll have Travis and Taylor, and I hope they don't break up before then. But we're pretty excited about that heifer. Her mom is meaner than a rattlesnake, and you have to really be careful walking into the barn because she wants to kill you. But Taylor is sweet as the day is long, and Raina's going to have a good time with her. We've been snowed in down here in Southwest Ohio for the last several weeks, and we have jobs to start. We have one that we started just before Christmas there. The footer's in there, but we decided just to hold off on even starting anything else and trying to keep that wall going over there because it's just not worth trying to put the house in jeopardy to keep a schedule going. I don't like it. When I was younger, I probably would have just been like pounding my chest thinking that we're working right through it. But now it's counterproductive, if you ask me, to try and continue to do things. You put the house in jeopardy. I don't want to get any ice down in the keyway and then try and pour concrete over top of it and just screws everything up. So, hopefully towards the end of this week, we can get back to rocking and rolling. So, we want to do something new this year. And we want to spin the topic wheel. And when we spin a topic wheel, a topic is going to come up, and I'm going to talk about it for a brief minute and just kind of give you some information on it. So who knows what it's going to be? We wrote down a whole bunch of them. And anything that I am talking to you about is unprepared, but yet I hope it's informational. So here we go. We'll spin the wheel. And we have shingles is what we are going to talk about today. That's a little rough because first time I've ever done that. So we're going to talk about shingles. What do you got to know about shingles? Shingles is a topic. So, I'll tell you this. According to any insurance company in the United States, nearly every roof in America is installed improperly. So when these assholes show up on your front doorstep and tell you how to get a new roof for free, they're going to screw the insurance company. And most of the time that means if it's within that range, the insurance company is going to come back and try and screw the builder what the installer was. And then they're going to go back to the installer. And it's just this big rigmarole, wasted time for these guys to earn money on the crooked way of doing so. But that's my thought process on that. There's only a few really good roofing companies out there. Reach out to Ray St. Clair. They are a really good company and great people over there. If you need a roof installed or reinstalled on your house, they'll tell you the truth. So the other thing to understand about shingles is if it's a 30-year shingle, that's not a 30-year warranty. That's just like a 30,000 mile tire. The shingle wears down from the weather after a while. And it's if it lasts 30 years, that means you got paper hanging up there on your roof. It wears down just like the tread of a tire does. The 30-year shingle is probably going to last you about 20 years. It might last 30 years, but it's probably going to last you 20 years. And then you want to start thinking about getting it replaced. The other thing to know, another important thing to know about shingles is if you have improper ventilation in your attic, then the heat gets trapped up there, and the heat is trying to escape from underneath the shingles. Now, the shingles are already taking the brunt of the weather on the outside of them, and if the heat is just beating the crap out of them from the inside, that shingle's going to start to curl up. It's going to ruin the life of the shingle, and it's going to help get that thing to last a lot less longer than what it should. So that's what I know about. There's so much more to know about shingles, but that's what I know about shingles. There you have it. Hey, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest for today. And our guest today is, we're starting the year off big time right here. And this is my friend, Kathy Wyenandt. And Kathy is, her and her husband, Jimmy, had built a house with us a couple years ago. We built their house a couple years ago. And the cool thing about this is Jimmy and I have been friends, and really, really good friends, since we were really little kids. And it's a relationship that I can tell you that I cherish to this day. And I'm so proud to be able to build this house with them and still be friends after the fact and enjoy this relationship we have. But today we'll dive into Kathy's story and a little bit more, and we're going to find out their experience in building with us. And I'm so grateful for these guys to allow us to build for them. But I'm also grateful for Kathy coming over here and taking time to be with us on the podcast and hang out for a little bit. I got to tell you, so I'll tell you this. Jimmy didn't come with her because we didn't ask Jimmy, because Jimmy hates this kind of stuff. So if we put Jimmy here in the hot seat, he's going to be like, Jeff, I hate your guts, and I'm not going to talk to you anymore. So Kathy is a very talented person, and I love her story. And one of them is because it has a lot to do with Jimmy leading up to today. But her story also tells us how strong she is and how determined she's been in her life. And another cool thing about Kathy is she's in politics, and she's a Democrat, and she's in Butler County, and I'm a Republican, and I've supported her multiple times every time she's ran for office. But I think that it's just I think it's a lot of her beliefs and all these other things about her. Even though she's in a Democratic Party, I don't want people to know. I guess what I should say is I'm stumbling around here. I want people to know that you don't need to be separated by a title on a ticket. And I think that most people have more in common, and Kathy is the one who probably told me this. Most people have more in common than what they think, and then they watch the news and you think that you need to be separated, and that's not the case. So she's a wonderful person, and she's also a wonderful politician, stands strong on her beliefs, and I think that's really good for her. So let's bring her in here. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring in Kathy Wyenandt. All right, like I said, today our guest on the show is none other than my friend Kathy Wyenandt, and you're also a customer. And we want to talk about a number of different things today. But it's I tell you that I told Jimmy this, and Jimmy's not like your husband. Yeah. Is not like a touchy feely guy, and I told him one time like how nostalgic it is, like when I hang out with him and I get to build your house and do all these things, and he's just like gets nervous and looks the other way. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Oh man, it's so cool. I've been talking about this for a long time, about getting you on here, and you're a celebrity in Southwest Ohio. So to have you on the WB Download is just really, really cool.
Well, it's really cool to be here. I mean, I think everybody knows what a great house you build and your reputation in the business world. So I'm happy to be here with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So let's talk about you a little bit. How, like I said, how we know each other is your husband, Jimmy, and I grew up together. We've known each other since I think we were in kindergarten or first grade or something, somewhere in there. Have been really good friends for a long time. And of course, I've gotten to know you. And then of course we built your house, and we started designing it in 2019, I think.
Somewhere in there. Yeah. And I know we got derailed by COVID.
Yep.
Kind of right when we were ready to go into architecture.
Yep.
We got the order that we couldn't go anywhere out of our houses, which was weird and kind of fun at the same time. So that delayed us a little bit, but I think only by a few months.
Yeah.
And then we got started.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So you also are what I would call a political expert, and
I don't know about that. But yeah.
you're a politico.
Yeah.
And so it's always interesting to talk to with you about politics and with different things that are happening in the world. So let's talk about you.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. If I start talking about me too much, you need to reach across the table and smack me. But if where'd you grow up at?
Well, I'm from Cincinnati originally, but we moved, so it was in Mount Healthy, but we moved to West Virginia when I was 8. My dad worked for the federal government, so we lived over there during one of his roles for, I guess it was only about 6 years, but it sure felt like I grew up there. So I was there from the time I was 8 to 14, and then moved back and went to Fairfield High School right here in Butler County, and then went to Miami University. And somewhere during the course of that educational experience is when I met Jimmy.
So you were born in Mount Healthy, Ohio?
Yeah.
No kidding. My mom was too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man. I spent a lot of time over there, and one of our Christmas traditions is go back over there to Young's and see the manger
nativity.
scene. And
yeah,
man, it's
a very special thing.
Yeah, it's a great town over there. And I had some friends of mine that went to. When I was in school, in Ross, they only offered Spanish and French, and I had some people that I knew that went to Mount Healthy, and they offered German over there.
Oh,
so oddly enough, I'm like, I'm going to go to Mount Healthy for high school because I want to learn German.
Well,
and somebody else said, "Here, I'll buy you a book. You can just read this." So you guys, you and Jimmy met when you were in college, and Jimmy is at Ohio University, and you are at Miami University. How's that happen?
Well, he transferred to Ohio State maybe third year. So he went to high school with the husband of the woman that I went to high school with. And the two of us were, she and her husband were both at Miami with me.
Okay.
And I had just gone through a breakup, long time relationship. And they were like, we got a guy we need you to meet. He's really great. I think you'd like him. And I kept putting them off. And I think he was putting them off for a little while. And ultimately finally met at a blind date. And,
nice.
We kind of have been together for the most part ever since.
Yeah, for the most part. I know how that goes. My wife, Shannon, and I have had one of those most part relationships too.
Yeah. You kind of have to grow up here and there through there.
Yeah, for sure. So it's just really cool. I mean, Jimmy's dad was one of our basketball coaches, and they have a logistics company. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting to talk to Bo about, when did you stop coaching and when were you doing this? And the format that they used over there before the internet, the business was only so much. And then, of course, then it goes to the internet and Jimmy takes off and starts doing things, which was really cool. But your journey together with you guys meeting when we were young, mm-hmm. and now you've gone through this whole life. You have 4 kids,
yep.
and you guys just, it's pretty cool. I like to hear, I say the journey, like there's going to be this in-depth book detail, but right. I'd like to hear about it, and see how fun that was.
It's definitely been a journey, that's for sure. I mean, neither one of us thought we'd be where we are now. I mean, he had plans to go to optometry school, and I had plans to go to law school. We decided to take a year, both of us decided to take a year off after college, and, the universe had other plans for us. So we had our first baby pretty soon after college. And, so she's now 26.
Nice.
And and then we kind of did things a little bit out of order. We got married a few years after that, and then had our other 3 kiddos. But we went through, I started at P&G and in market research, and then went into management and sales and all kinds of different things. And then he, did some work with Fidelity Investments and different things, and then wound up at the family business and kind of started from the bottom, learned the business from the bottom up, which I think any good business owner does. Right. And when his father decided to officially kind of retire, Jimmy was ready to take over and has really just expanded the business in a big way and really taken it in a great direction. So to see where we are now compared to where we were 25 years ago is mind blowing in many ways.
I don't know if you're, I know you are, it's nice to see people succeed. It's nice to see people do well, mm-hmm. and to watch that all and see how you guys are. It's just really cool in your personal lives and the business, whatever you're doing is really neat. So when you are in college, did you cheer it? Because we're leading up to, did you cheer at Fairfield and then you cheered at Miami?
So I cheered in West Virginia when I was growing up,
okay.
And then moved back to Butler County back to Cincinnati after my freshman year. And so when I came to Fairfield, it was too late to, for the tryouts for that year. And then, it's really hard to make your kind of varsity squad as a junior, senior. So, so I did not cheer in high school, but I cheered at Miami, for a little bit. And then I coached. So,
nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I didn't realize that. And so, I mean, is that odd to be able to do that where you're not cheering in school and then you go to college and then you cheer there?
Nowadays, I think it probably would be. It's so different now, right? Because the kids who are cheering and dancing at the collegiate level, just like any other sport, they're doing the travel or the competition teams, and they're really, really elite athletes. And it's pretty hard for people to just walk in and try out and make a team.
Right. Is it like you're trying out? Is it like a walk on for football or something like that? Or how does that?
Yeah. It's just it was at that time. Yeah. There's, definitely there was no money involved, no scholarship money. And it's just for fun.
So you cheer at Miami, you coach at Miami, and then you go and you become a Bengals cheerleader, a Bengal as they call it. What made you want to do that? And was there something that you were like, I'm going to go be a professional cheerleader, or was there somebody who came and contacted you, or what was your inspiration to do that?
Yeah, it was a weird thing. So I've always been a huge Bengals fan, right? Houday, and then was a dancer and cheerleader growing up and just loved performing. It was at an interesting time. It was 1996. So I had just gone through that breakup right before I met Jimmy. And I was in kind of that phase of like, who in the world am I? What am I going to do? I graduate soon. What am I going to do with my life? And I was coaching, and a woman that I was coaching with was also a Bengal at the time. And she was a teacher and she was a Bengal. And she said, you really should try out. So I decided, well, I think maybe I'll do that, but I won't tell a soul, because in case I don't make it, I don't want to be embarrassed. Sure. Right. So I went through the whole audition process, and the only people who really knew were like my mom and my sisters, and ended up making it. And that was a fun ride. It was a fun ride.
How long did you do it?
Just a couple of years, because we ended up having a baby. So the universe had different plans. So in that process, right after I made the team, I had probably in the first 3 months of making the team, I met Jimmy. And then a couple of years later, we were having a family.
There you go.
Yeah.
So is it that professional life? Is it like you're going to work and, it's not as glitz and glamour as everybody thinks it is, or is it really kind of big deal?
Yeah. So in my day, back in the 90s, being a Bengal meant that you made $50 a game. And that's it. And what
did you do with all that money?
I know, right? I invested it in a high interest bearing account. We performed at 10 games. So it's, I think, 10 games back in the day. So the preseason and the
probably cost you $10 to park.
Yep. Well, we at least got to park at Spinney Field back in the day when we had Spinney, and then we all carpooled over. So because it was real high end, but we practiced a couple nights a week and worked really hard to stay in shape. And we always had to wear full hair and makeup to practice, and a certain type of outfit to practice in. And we did some charity appearances and things, but there's no thrill like being on the floor, on the field at the stadium and performing when the Bengals are playing behind you. And honestly, some of my most favorite friends to this day are the women that I cheered with. You don't do it for the money, and you don't do it for the fame. You do it because you love to perform and because you love the sport. And the women who are on that field are incredibly talented in their day life too. I will say I've known women who've been Bengals who were not only educators, but physicians, attorneys, accountants, scientists, researchers, sales managers, all kinds of things. They're really intelligent. In fact, you have to have a full-time job or be a student in order to be a Bengal. Yeah. And they've increased their standards significantly since then, I'll say.
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh. I think our standards were pretty high back then. I mean, I think it's really cool. It's an experience, I mean, it's something that, people always are like, like you build houses for celebrities. And I'm like, well, I build houses for people who have had unique experiences and do some really, really cool things. And I think it's a big deal, and I think this is that's a really cool story to add to your life. It's
a lot of fun. And like I said, that group, our little 90s alumni group, we have a text group, and we get fired up every game day. So we still chat all the time.
So you were there when Ickey Woods was there, right? And
I came just after Ickey. I was there when Boomer Esiason came back.
Nice.
And then retired with the Bengals. Yeah. So
those were good years.
Yeah.
Not so much.
We were 500. That was our claim to fame. We did no playoffs in our site, but
some things have never changed. So let's talk about politics a little bit.
Yeah.
And I want to know what led you to politics. Why'd you get involved with it? Why do you love it? What's your drive with that?
It's definitely hard to explain, but I'll do my best. So, as I said earlier, my father worked for the federal government. He came from pretty much poverty deep in Kentucky when he was a young fella. And he was born in 1934, so right after the Depression in those days. And, fast forward, he never forgot where he came from. He was not, a wealthy man by any means, but always instilled in me and my siblings, to look out for the smaller people who are struggling, and reach out and provide a hand up and help people forward. And so my earliest political memory, funnily enough, is when Jimmy Carter lost re-election. I was 6 years old and I remember crying. Since he just passed away, it's extra poignant, but, boy, to live to be 100 years old and to live the life that he lived. To
be 6 years old and understand the politics.
Right. Or to at least say, that's how my dad feels. He's not happy. I'm going to feel the same way.
Yeah.
I kind of followed along, and 1992 was the first election I could vote in, and that was
me too.
Bill Clinton. Yeah. And so obviously I'm on the Democratic side. It was an interesting election. I got really involved in it from a kind of a bleachers perspective, not actively physically involved, but involved at home. And then became really involved in college from that point. And I started the College Democrats chapter at one of the campuses of Miami. And, we became super involved there at the collegiate level. And then, I picked up political science as my second major. My first major is psychology. Just loved it. I love the whole process. I feel like really drawn to the colonial times and kind of the founding era. Did a lot of those nerdy tours, and when I was a kid, going to DC and Mount Vernon and all that. And so, maybe there's, I don't know what it is, but I have just always loved the process and been what I consider a very strong patriot. But since things changed after graduation, I did not go to law school. I kind of put it on the wayside for a little bit and went about our business of starting our family and our careers and all of that. And then always kind of kept an ear to things. But then in 2008, we were having our third kid, and I left the full-time kind of professional world, because anybody who has more than 2 kids knows that you go from man to man to zone, and you need a couple people around. So we were lucky enough these were not easy times, but we were lucky enough to figure out a way for me to leave full time and stay home. And I say that with air quotes because I really just became super involved in politics at the time. It was the Obama campaign. It was exciting. I became personally involved, and we physically, campaigned and door knocked and built a neighborhood team and really just met a lot of other people like-minded who wanted to make change. And that was really fun. So I've been involved ever since. So It's been 17 years now. And, I'm now the chair of the Butler County Democratic Party and involved heavily at the state level. It's not easy in Butler County being a Democrat, but there are a whole lot more of us than you think. That's for darn sure. So I love I'm a kind of a campaign junkie. I love strategy. I love team building, organization building, streamlining, making things more efficient and effective. May be a while before we get some big partisan victories around here, but we're winning at the local level, and we're making change significantly as we do that. And it's just really exciting for me.
Yeah. How did you, your parents were Democrats, and is that how you got into the Democratic Party, or was it some particular belief, or what was it that led you in one way or the other?
My dad was a Democrat. My mom, learned to become a Democrat. She came from a family of Republicans, but even then, since the parties have really sort of taken on different beliefs since then. But it solidified for me in college that I was a Democrat because a lot of the things that I was involved in, I went to a lot of different activities. And for me, it really comes down to the core belief that I have that every human being deserves a fair shot and the opportunity to thrive. And no matter who they are, who they love, how they feel, who or how they worship, if they do at all. And that means that, keep your religion out of my life, in other words, and stay away from my personal life. And those are places I don't think the government belongs in regulating. And that's why I am a Democrat. And again, I feel like every human should have the right to achieve their fullest potential. That means good, strong public schools. That means healthy and safe communities. That means access to affordable and effective healthcare, housing, things like that. So now it's not just from where the background that I came from. Now it's anchored by real values. So but
well, two things to add to that. One is, I don't know if you know that Jimmy and Andy and I had a huge political career at the same time you did. We had, for government class, we had to go work on a campaign, and we worked for Greg Jolivet as he was running for state representative, and we went door to door for him.
I love that.
Yeah, and
I did not know that Jimmy did.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, the three of us did, and I think we walked around Hamilton, and we had to do it, so we beat it down pretty good. The coolest thing about that is that Greg's brother-in-law is George Wendt, which is Norm from Cheers. Yeah. And so we get to meet Norm and hang out. And of course, we weren't old enough to drink beer at that point in time. But so that was my first election, too. And my whole family, and I still am a Republican. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? Right. I mean, it's a title. And so is there a list that says you qualify right here if you're a Republican, you qualify if you're a Democrat? And there's people, and there's a lot of people who, and I see this in college sports, I see it in all sorts of different things. If you're wearing a Tennessee hat and I don't like Tennessee, I'm going to fight you. If you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican, I'm going to fight you. Yeah. And I don't think that necessarily needs to be the case. I think that there's so many cross beliefs. There are that you I don't think that church belongs in the government's hands. Mm-hmm. And so is that a Republican or a Democratic thing, or is it my thing? Right. And why do you have to be labeled like that? And why do people want to battle? Like, get into a hardcore, I hate your guts battle about it.
It's terrible. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I ran for office a couple times too, back in 2018 and 2020, State House and State Senate. And, my tagline was people over politics. Yeah. And even though I'm definitely a Democrat, I fundamentally believe that as people, we have so much more in common than we don't. We all want our kids to be healthy and thrive and to live independently, happy and healthy as long as they can. We all want to be safe. We all want opportunity. We just may have different ways around it. And I think that, we can talk about all the different things that have maybe come into play that have led us to change, whether it's social media, cultural changes, different things. But we've lost the art of sitting down across the table with people who don't see eye to eye with us and saying, all right, well, what do we agree on? Let's start from there. And what can we get done for the community, for the people? Because that's what needs to happen, right? We may walk away thinking, there are things we could never, ever do. We can't touch that because we can't agree, but we can do so much. Yeah. And some of my most ardent sort of political opponents, even they and I can sit down and talk about those things. And some of the most fun people that I've met through the years have been people that I definitely wouldn't say I would agree with politically, but I really have a great respect for them as people. Yeah. I voted for Bill Clinton my first time out, and I thought my dad I didn't think I was going to be allowed in the house again. And I think he was running against Bob Dole, right? And not Bob Dole. In the second time in 96 and 92, he was running against Bush Senior. 41. That's right. And I just remember listening to these old guys talk, and Bill Clinton at the time was a younger guy. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know, I kind of like this dude. Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh, that's not what you're supposed to do. And I still think that Bill Clinton is one of the best speakers that you could ever have out there. He was a really well articulated guy. Oh yeah. But that doesn't make me a Democrat. I don't think it makes me a Republican. And I just think it's funny to listen to. I think it was one of the years that Obama was running for president, and I put on Facebook, tell me exactly how the president of the United States affects you directly. That's exactly right. These people are going gung ho there. And especially with Trump, my gosh, there's huge Trump fans that hate the rest of the world, and there's huge Obama fans that hate the rest of the world. And I'm like, tell me how it affects you directly. And people were like, you're a Democrat. I can't believe you did this. And I'm like, you didn't answer the question. Yeah. And then somebody else will say something, and I'm like, you didn't answer the question. Oh. And they start giving you these facts and all this other stuff. And I said, you never answered the question. Never, not once. And it drives me crazy that I think people have a philosophy of what
Democrat, Republican philosophy of what the presidential election does, what politics do.
It's true.
And it drives me crazy.
We have caricatures of each other, and it's really sad. It's hard for people to overcome what, I would go knocking on doors or talking to folks, and, they'd say, well, you don't look like a Democrat. I'm like, why? You think Democrats don't have their teeth? What do you mean? Like, it's certainly a caricature. And I agree with you. I mean, we saw even during this most recent presidential election where people believe wholeheartedly that Donald Trump the day that he takes office, the gas prices will be 99 cents a gallon again. And like everything will be back to where it was back in 1983. And, it's just not the way it works. The president does not control the gas prices, just like the Democrats don't control the weather. Right.
Right.
It's silly.
Amazing.
But I will always say at the end of the day, all the sparkly stuff in Washington is what attracts us, takes away our focus. Meanwhile, what happens in our backyard impacts us more importantly than ever. And these local elections, like what's coming up in 2025, right? We always see turnout in the 20% range because people don't pay attention to it. But those are the people making your policy at your school boards and your townships and your city councils. They're impacting your zoning laws and who can build what next to you. That's why you got a Milliken Road interchange happening up there, right? Because we've got local electeds. And so I always urge people, if you care about what's going on in your backyard, that's the politics you need to pay attention to, and don't just vote party, because, there's some really good people at the local level who are very involved in the community and doing good work, and they're approachable.
Yeah.
Go out there and talk to them, get to know the people who are running for local office.
Yeah.
So that's really what I'm passionate about.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I've said this a million times is worry about your local government, your trustees, your city council, your county commissioners. And these are the people that you're going to interact with, school board. And these are the people that make decisions that directly affect you. I really like Donald Trump. I think I really like the fact that a business person is going to be in a position of politics. That's what I like.
Right.
I don't know how much I like, some of the antics and some of the things. I think it's funny, some of the things he does, but I do think that there needs to be a business person in mindset in there. I think the politicians hate it because he exposes the fact that they've been sitting down there, and there's a lot of people that we would want to vote for as a business person because they don't do anything, and we're like, that's good.
Right.
We don't want you trying.
Don't upset the apple cart. Right.
Don't
just
do
keep
anything. Just
cool.
shut up.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, though. I mean, he's starting off as a lame duck president. It's pretty interesting. I mean, unless he tries to change the Constitution, right? Wave your hands. But starting off as a lame duck president, we haven't really seen that in a long time. So I like to see the business. I like somebody who's been, almost like if you're going to run for office, you need to spend 5 years in the public sector. If you're going to be a school teacher, you need to spend 5 years in the public sector and in the private sector, and not public sector, private sector, and do some business, work on some things so you get real life experiences and understand. Don't skip over that part and then go out and start making decisions for me as a business owner and thinking, what you're talking about. It's crazy. So real life experiences are important. And I will say to that point, we're in candidate recruitment mode here locally, and I hear people all the time, especially women, because women need to be asked 5, 6, 7, 8 times to consider running for office. It's some, imposter syndrome thing. But I hear people say all the time, I don't have the experience. Well, I mean, I think the game has been changed, right? You don't have to have experience. Go run.
You have to have a heart.
Yeah.
You have to want to do it.
Have some passion, care about your community, and go. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think it's funny that people always say that that Congress is crooked until you meet your congressman and you're like, this is the greatest person I've ever met in my life. Yeah. How could Congress be crooked? This person's so nice.
Or it's the other way around. You're like, this guy?
Yeah, this guy
is representing me.
Disgusting.
How did they get there?
I love Washington, D.C. I mean, it's one of my favorite places to go. I don't know what it is about it. And especially when you get there in the spring, and walk around and see everything.
It's beautiful.
But as many times as I've been there, and we go on the hill and we'll spend some time over in Raymond and I leave there and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that I could come and do this right now. Oh yeah. I'm just not polished enough.
And that's what's refreshing is you don't have to be polished.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, look at Fetterman from what is he, Pennsylvania? John Fetterman. He goes onto the Senate floor in sweatpants. I mean, that's not exactly polished.
Really looks good.
That's great. Great look.
Great deal.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we talked about that because I think that it's so important for people to understand that you don't need to be labeled by a name on a ticket and a title on a ticket. So
absolutely.
Let's quit talking about all that crap and let's start talking about you. We built your house.
Yeah.
And it is still today. Like I said, it's one of the greatest parts of my heart because we were able to build build it, and it was a great project, and I hope that we're still friends. You're here, so
you're paying me pretty well.
I'm paying you to be here. I wrote that check, but I thought it was just a really, really big project. Tell me about, like Jimmy and I had talked about land for years, because you guys had some specific requirements because you needed to stay in a certain area. You wanted some land, and we looked at a couple different pieces. But why don't you tell me a little bit about how you arrived at the fact that you're even going to build a house? What makes you want to do that?
Yeah. Well, so so our first place we lived was a condo, and then we built a couple houses after that. So we built with a, stick builder, your big corporation builder, kind of lived in the first one for 4 years. And then the next one, we were there for 15 years.
Yeah.
And we loved our second home, the most recent home. But always wanted something that was a little smarter, fit our family better. And we wanted some land. So we were in a suburban neighborhood, half acre. So we had our eye out for years for some land, but the school district that we were in, it was just absolutely not possible. We tried and tried and tried for years. One day, I think it was 2018, we decided, let's just, expand and look at a couple townships nearby just in case. And there were two properties in a neighboring township. We decided to go take a look. The first one we, walked around, looked at the land, traipsed through all the brush and put our big waders on, and we're like trying to envision where we'd be. And it just didn't feel right. And then the second one, it took us a while to get there, was the one where we are now. And it's a little over 20 acres, almost 21 acres. And, it didn't really look like much. It was pretty plain, the first part that we could see. And then there was some, an old barn. And when I say barn, don't pretend that it was that kind of barn. It was not a cute barn. And an old little cottage house there. And we were like, we pulled up. And as we walked and kind of past the barn and sort of looked beyond the barn, then we looked over a beautiful hill, like a ridge, and we could see the city behind us forever. And it was just stunning. And we felt just a peace there. And we thought, okay, this is the place. And kind of side note, we didn't know when we were going to build. We just knew we needed to get a hold of it. And we got it for a pretty good deal and just hung on to it for a while. Went sled riding there, all kinds of fun stuff. But I had been collecting ideas and drawing out floor plans and pieces and parts for a long time, creating vision boards. I sort of am a design aficionado and just love the whole process. And so that gave us a little bit more to work with from there. So when the time was right, we had lots of homework done.
I know you did, and you were the main designer on the project, of course. But did you know how extensive? I had no idea how extensive the project was going to be. I mean, we draw plans and we go through the plans, and by that time, for me, what happens by that time, I'm in the bathroom, I'm in the family room, I'm in the kitchen, and I'm in this plan and I'm looking at it, but I'm not standing back looking at the whole picture going, man, this is a big project. Did you know before we started how extensive it was going to be?
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. And I will tell you, by the time we met with the architect, the poor fella, I think he must have been completely overwhelmed. We walked in and I had all these like highlighted parts of floor plans and then a sketch of floor plans and a list of, kind of a wish list and how I wanted it all to flow. And was like, okay, if you can imagine this is the house. Can you draw this? And he kind of looked at me like I had 5 heads, and he was like, I'm up for the challenge. Let me see what I can do. And, I was just thinking he was going to come back with this drawing and we were going to go back and forth. And, and then once we decided on something and signed a contract, we'd make our quick selections. It'd be a small process, maybe here and there. And I'd go do some other picking. And, no. First of all, I will say when he did come back, it was took a couple months, but we were in no rush. When he came back with the drawing, he nailed it. Yeah. Absolutely nailed it. The only thing we did was we said, that's a little big.
Yeah, we shrunk it down a little bit.
Take a little bit off. And the funny thing is that little space that we decided not to finish in the lower level, we're gonna open that up and put the golf simulator in there. So we should have done it from the get-go. But from that point, what I was blown away with was your involvement, Right. And I know that it's not just because you know us, but like you're literally saying, all right, now I'm positioning myself in your bathroom or in your kitchen. I'm looking at this. What do you see this? And I can see it. Jimmy is like, what are you looking at? I just see a wall. What are you talking about? And we could say, what are we doing here? How are we going to move this? And the electric's going to come through here, and this is going to come through there, and we're going to need this exhaust and this thing here. And so I was blown away by your personal investment and level of involvement in building, and in designing of the process.
Well, thank you. And,
that is something your entire team, it was ongoing through the entire process. No. Yeah. That was amazing. Yeah.
So you're talking about Mark Durkers, who's the architect, yes. And you coined the phrase Markitect.
And,
and it was awesome. I remember we took so many notes from you because you were giving us feedback and when things went good and things went bad, you were like, look, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. And I love taking that information and coming back. But one of the things that we do is one of our milestones is when we show you that first floor plan, that hand-drawn floor plan. Mm-hmm. And that's Mark's forte. I mean, he hand draws it. It's all scaled together, and it's just an unbelievable presentation, really especially when we pulled that last page out and show the elevation. And I remember when we got you and me and Mark were like digging on it. Mm-hmm. And we got about halfway through the floor. I saw Jimmy stand up, and I think he went outside and threw up.
Probably.
I think he was so nervous, and then it was so funny, but you're right, it was a fun process because Mark dove into it, and I love everything about the house. The only thing that I wish we would have done, and I don't want to tell you this now, but
no, tell me now.
Was and I told Jimmy this and when the bonus room goes out the top of it, that's such an unbelievable view. Oh my God,
yes.
I wish we would have structured that roof back there to where we could go walk out there and hang out there. And I mean, you could still walk out there. I wouldn't encourage
it. It's never too late. We could
still do it. But it was so the house. It's. I think that everybody is overwhelmed when they get into it. Like just like you think about it, and I try and especially now try and talk to people like this is going to happen. We're going to need this. You're going to need. People always talk to me about how long is it going to take you to build this house, and I'm like, let's not worry about that right now.
Right.
What I want to know is how much time do you have to dedicate to the project, because we need as much time from you as possible, and it'll eat you up. And but you did a tremendous job. If you go onto our website, you'll see those pictures all over the place because it's just so cool of all the things you did in that house, and it really turned out great.
Thanks. Yeah.
Really good. Really good. So it's designed around the way you guys want to live, around your family, and specifically around your family. It's got so many cool features in there. But it's like, again, it's a situation where it's not like we were just building a house. We built your home designed exactly the way you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I knew, like, when we got up to it and walked the land, I knew the utility aspect of it, like the different things we were going to need to get into. We knew we were going to have to remove that barn. We should call it not something else besides the barn, because I don't want people calling us up going, you tore down that 1800s barn.
Right.
It was not. So we tore that down, and where we were going to place the house, moving it forward and backward, trying to get it placed exactly to where it was going to walk out and do all the things like that. But once we got into the house, so a couple of details that we went through. We had almost 25 change orders. On the job. I went through 3 painters. One of them, I'm not sure if he survived or not. 3 supervisors. We had.
You make it sound like we're terrible.
No. This is on our end. These are the things that. No, it's not terrible at all. Those painters, you remember, right?
Yeah.
And then we had 3 supervisors, and then we had the lumber market craze, which the lumber just was going crazy, up and down, up.
That was immediately post COVID.
Yeah, it was crazy. We had almost $100 plywood. And then the other thing is that you guys lived on site while we were building the house.
Yeah, that was wild.
Something I don't encourage for anybody.
I don't either.
Literally lived on a house so we connected that house that you were living in. We connected it to your new house. All the while you were living there. So those are some of the things that they're not challenges. They're just fun statistics to look at, and think about while we went through building your house.
Oh yeah.
But I think it just turned out great. So why don't you walk us through a couple of spaces that you have in your home that are specific to design, or if you can you remember what your house looks like?
Yeah. So yes. Well, real quick, I want to back up though, in case you do have any listeners and they're wondering, well, what do you mean I lived on site? So there's a little house that was built in 1897 that is still on the property.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. And, we sold our other house that we lived in for 15 years before we listed it. And, in 2021, the market was super nuts, and the word got out that we were going to list it, and we sold it really quickly. And we went ahead and just moved into what we call the cottage. It's like 1,500 square feet.
If that.
And we had gone from, your average, suburban McMansion, 4,000 something square feet. So putting 6 people and 2 dogs in this little teeny tiny cottage was really an adventure. No dishwasher, so that's fun. But it was for the most part, it was a really great time. And we, connected to the new house with a breezeway. And so we could watch, the breezeway was the last thing to go on. But we could sit and watch every step of the process. And we did just by default, because we were right there, we could see everything. But okay, so talk about, you said a couple of spaces in the house.
So can I want to back up to one other point is when we were talking about some things that we made adjustments to because of your feedback. One of the things that we talked about, or a couple of things we talked about is Leanne comes and does an interview with the customer about 60 days after you live in the house. And we talk about what went right, what went wrong. And so there was a guy in my Builder 20 group that did that, but I think you enhanced it just with the information that you had given us. And another thing that we did, it is, as a builder, there's so many different computer programs out there that you could use and they all try and make it one size fits all. And it's rarely ever that. So we go on Google, make our own sheets. And so we went to Google, and I can't remember if we showed you this or not, but it's not just our file organization, but also it's an update sheet that we give to the customer, and it's got check off balances on every single line item of what's happening, what did happen, what's coming up. And then it breaks it down into the draw schedule. It breaks it down into timeline. And it's all pretty much like a result from what you were telling us. Like, look, here's my issue. Like when you were frustrated to say, I didn't know this, or I didn't know this was coming, or I need to know this, and whatever it was. And so that was a reaction to that. Yeah. So those are some of the things that I was talking about when I listened to what you were saying, the things that we did to change our process moving forward. And
I think that's really great. And, I will say I have some other friends who have built with other builders and tried to use some of those fancy apps and software. And it's all, Google is all you need. It is perfect. You have clear communication and transparency, access. It's all you need.
We talked about this. You can use cuss words if you want.
Oh, good. Don't even set me loose on that. It won't be pretty. So a big reason why I needed to know a lot of things. I mean, we obviously knew there was going to be a draw schedule and different things, but it was because, as you said earlier, I was very hands-on with the planning of the house. And, we laugh because I had this gigantic binder, but I also have a lot, sort of saved on my desktop, on my computer, and a lot of things just sort of there because I drew a lot of things, and I, made a lot of selections and designs and just a whole bunch of different things so if I knew we were working on a certain thing next, if I had 2 or 3 weeks to prep it, I would do it. Or making selections. I was the nerd who would show up for my lighting selection with everything done. Like I showed up with spreadsheets, and I'm like, I already went through and picked stuff. So let's just solidify it, double check it, make sure the measurements work and the scale fits and finishes look right. And, and so having that kind of communication that this is coming down the pike, this is what I want you to work on, that was really, really helpful. So, and I think back in, I don't know if you still use this, but like I used to laugh because Robin would send over a change order or something that you guys had scanned and then faxed or something and then sent over via email. And I was like, oh my God, you can just put this, make it a signable doc that I can. It looked like it was like, remember when we had the original fax machines, they had a roll of paper on it. That's what it looks like when we would do that. Yeah. It was very beautiful. Yeah. But anyway, it worked. It's all good. That's good. So some of the spaces that you have in your house, let's think about, like the main floor is made for the main floor being the first floor. You have a bar and you're in between your kitchen and great room. Yeah. We put these huge doors in the basement and the first floor coming across there, which are really cool. Talk about, and the offices too, because you have
multiple offices in there. Why don't you talk about those spaces and what they mean to you and why you even decided to do that?
Yeah. We designed the house so that, we can age in place and that we can live, everything Jimmy and I need is on the first floor, on the main floor. And we both work from home, when we need to. So we have, we have 2 offices. I'd go through his office to go up the steps to get into my little office. I would go back and put a door there. Just because he's the guy who's on the phone on speaker and he doesn't wear headphones. I'm like, dude, I don't need to hear everything you're doing. And we have hardwood floors. And so you can imagine how that echoes. But love that the offices are there. And, I put a little walk-in closet in my office for all of my office storage and junk. So it's all perfect. It's very well designed there. On the main floor, like I said, we designed to how we live. And we love to have our friends over and our family over. We have a big family. We entertain a lot. We do host, obviously I'm in politics. I'm involved in a lot of nonprofit organizations. So we host fundraisers and events. And we just had 100 people there in the fall for a fundraiser. So the bar is on the main floor and it's between the kitchen and the great room. But it's not a crazy bar like an right. Irish pub kind of bar. It's kind of very low profile, very sleek, and fits right in with the kind of look of the house. But because of you were mentioning the big windows and doors, we can open up that back window behind the bar and completely open it up to the patio, the screen porch behind it, and then slide the big sliders. Yeah. So the whole back of the house opens up, and when the weather's perfect, which spring and fall, and even sometimes summer, it's really great to open up and be able to have traffic flow through all of there. So we love that. And, three seasons out of the year, we do that at night. We have that open and we're really enjoying it. We'll have the TV on outside on the screen porch and just enjoy because we have a beautiful view. And at night, the city's all lit up behind us, and it's just really, really extraordinary.
So that door coming out of the great room is a Pella sliding door that opens up. I think it's 22 feet.
I think so.
And then there's I think it's 8 or 10 feet. It's folding window that slides across in the bar area, and then over in the dining area, there's another 16-foot door that comes across there, and they all go out to this beautiful deck that overlooks just this beautiful piece of property. And I think that putting that bar on the first floor is so cool because you bring the outside in, the inside out, something I always talk about. But when you entertain it, you gain another 1,500 square feet on the outside, and as well as bring it on the inside. I think it's just really, really neat. Oh yeah,
it's wonderful. And then now that we've been finishing off some of the pool area and the patio beyond there, we can even expand down the steps and into that whole area. It's really, really nice. It's very well thought out.
So the upstairs, the kids' bedrooms, they have both unique spaces in there, in those rooms up there. Yeah, they have are both of them, or do they have dance, kind of like a dance prep area?
So our teenagers are upstairs. Yeah. And they're both girls. They both have suites, and they're really just mirror opposites. So they have a good sized room, and then they have a step up to sort of a little bonus area in their rooms. And one is a dancer. So hers is a little dance studio. She's got the mirrors and the bar, and she's up there, and that's right over my office. So I can hear her practicing diligently. And then a walk-in closet that's off of that. And then they have on the other side of their rooms, their full bathroom with their bathtubs, and they're both bath takers. They love to take their baths. But one's the dance studio, and the other daughter is more of like an art studio. Yeah. Good. And then they have the loft, which is where we should have put a walkout to another kind of screen porch or deck of some sort. But we do have a pool a couple stories below. So I just have nightmare images of like somebody trying to jump in and, but that is an extraordinary space up there too. And that is truly the best view in Butler County. I think
it's amazing.
It's really, really phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. So then if we drop down to the lower level, we have a couple bedrooms down there. Yep. We have an exercise room. We have a sauna down there. And then that also, one of the coolest things is that pool I don't want to call it a mud room, but it's a pool mud room. And it's, people talk about, let's do a pool bath.
Yeah.
And they'll do we'll do like a commode and a vanity and a changing area. And this is when you walk in the back door off the pool, it's a mud room, has, mud bench there. It has a steam shower in it. It has, commode and vanity and everything like that, but it's just got some really cool tile to it. And it's one of my buddies said that you could do some of the coolest things with small spaces, and it's not small by any means, but you did really some cool things in there.
Oh yeah. That's a really great room. One of my favorite spaces that we did, because it does have that, in my old house, we had the pool, but we didn't have a pool bath. You had to walk on the wood floor all the way back to the bathroom, way back through the house. And I was like, we're never doing that again.
Draping the water through
right? So there is a door directly from the pool area in, and it is that changing room. And there's a separate door, and there's a pool towel closet and the whole thing, hooks and all that fun stuff. And then you can go in through that door, and there's a steam shower in the toilet and the really great sink that I'd had my eye on that sink for about 12 years. I know that sucker's heavy as heck. That Kohler.
It's a porcelain wall hanging sink. It's not a vanity.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then it does open it opens out into the back hallway of the lower level. So that is the main bathroom on the lower level as well. So it's kind of dual purpose.
Yeah.
Pool bath and lower level bath.
Yeah, pretty neat. So,
and then, we do have the sauna down there, and that gets a lot of use by my husband. I do not like to sweat like that. So I like to sweat, but only when I'm working out. So
I think it'd be fun to go in for a little bit, but that and that cold plunge, I don't know if I can get a hold of either one of them.
Not for me.
Yeah. I'm like, just give me a blanket. I'll watch TV.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
So let's talk about why did you name it the Mulberry Ridge?
So before we built the house, when what we'll call a barn was on the property, there was it's on a ridge. So if you approach the house from the street level, it looks flat, and you don't even see the hill behind you. But once you go to the side of the house, it drops down. There's a hill. So it's a ridge. And then there was this mulberry tree that was sort of along the hill for a very, very long time, long before us. And we put a swing there. And our girls would swing on the mulberry tree.
Oh, that's cool.
And we had to take it down. It was split. And so we had to take it down. I don't remember if it was right before we started building or while we were building. It just wasn't safe.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of great memories with that tree. So it became Mulberry Ridge.
We did that. And we also took a beam out of that barn and we made the mantles out of it. Or you guys took it to a guy down in Hamilton and he cut them down for you.
Yeah,
and hung
we
them
did. Yeah, we put those as our outdoor mantles above the outdoor fireplaces on the screen patio and the one below. And we also did 2 strips from the barn beam, the main beam across the top, that are they look like sideburns, I like to say, along by the range, by the stove, under the custom range hood. So, and then they were, we did them in black to match the range hood, and it's really cool. So we tie the history in there. Yeah.
And you've got another really cool thing. I could just sit here and keep going on, but is your door going into your pantry? You bought that door somewhere like at a yard sale or something, didn't you?
We bought that at an antique shop down in Alabama. That's a 150-year-old door, and we haven't touched it. I mean, they removed the glass. I think we removed the glass. I think we had your project manager remove the glass for us, but the color was just perfect. It goes with our wood, with our cabinetry, and it's just really cool. It tells a fun story. Yeah.
It was a little racked and we straightened it out and then routed some hinges into it and then fitted it to the door frame to go into the pantry. And it's really, really,
it turned out really great.
So neat. It takes such a vision to take a risk like that and be like, this is what we're going to do. And just, you can see it coming together.
Yeah. So. We did a few crazy things. Like there are some, we ran, the countertop essentially up the wall there in the kitchen. And, I put oversized chandeliers over the island, some cool things, because the space is large though. And so we were able to kind of blow up the scale some. Pretty fun.
The other thing you did is and I like to say this because it's kind of old school, but it's not, is we stained your entire staircase. We stained the spindles, we stained the railing and everything like that. And your staircase comes down to the back of the house, kind of into the kitchen and great room area instead of seeing it in the front, in the front entry area. And it doesn't have a runner on it. And I love stairs. I love messing with them, and I love making them the focal point. And I think that you did a really good job with that vision of putting that together, because I think it's old school, because those spindles, we just don't do those old oak spindles anymore. And that's what we did there. And it just really turned out cool.
It really turned out cool. We did a lot of most of the wood in the house is white oak, and we tried to keep a real natural stain on it because we wanted something timeless.
Yeah.
I like to salt and pepper in some trends and flavor that way, but I like to keep it in a way that it's timeless. It's gonna age well. And the way the stairs turned out couldn't have been better, because that's really when we host events and we have speakers, right? That's where people stand to speak. Right. So we had someone who recently announced for governor was there back in the fall and spoke from those steps. So it's really exciting to look back and say, hey, that could be our next governor. Speaking from my steps.
That's pretty cool. I was surprised we didn't put like a little step out there with a podium that pops up or something. Maybe we should do that. We should think about that.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk to me about your experience, and be honest? How was your experience? And if it sucked, and we'll just edit that part out. But how was your experience building with us? And was it? I'm sure it was more painful than what you thought it was going to be because of the details and the level of the project. But tell me about that, if you can.
Well, I will say from the top, it was a great experience. Building is hard. Building is not easy, especially if you're building, well, no matter what you're building, right? Even if you're building, if it's your very first home and it's what you can afford, or if it's your dream home, and you're spending a little bit more money than you thought you could, and it's meant to last forever. It is hard and it's emotional. And I think you told us, right, in the very beginning, you're like, you better make sure you love each other because building is hard.
Yeah.
And I don't think Jimmy and I ever really had any problems over, disagreeing. We usually see pretty much eye to eye on things, and we can compromise where we need to. But the process with Wyenandt, more so the challenges had to do with sort of your processes, because it was like, oh, I wish I would have known that, or,
Yeah.
And then it was like, we've been in this cottage a long time. How long is it going to take? Where things are hard, you guys communicate, and that's important. And I would say to anybody who's building, if you can't communicate with your builder, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Because nothing's ever going to be perfect. Shit happens. Yep. And you got to be able to, be honest with each other, communicate through it, get it right, and understand that nothing's ever going to be perfect. You're going to have, wavy walls. You got to work to get them right. It's going to happen.
You don't have wavy walls right now.
I don't have wavy walls now, but we had a wavy wall. It was a weird wavy wall.
Straighten it out.
But we got that fixed. But you're going to have weird things happen, and communication is important, and you guys were great there. And, just like I said, knowing you, we had no other choice. It was going to be Jeff Wieland building our house.
I'm not sure if I should take that as pride, or if I should be like, man, they were forced to build with me.
No, I'm actually really grateful because,
Jimmy told me a story that I could probably share here, but I can't use the names.
Oh God. It could have been so much worse, I will say, if his friend had been somebody who was just a terrible quality builder, and we were forced to build with them. But no, I was lucky. We felt lucky from the get-go, knowing that you had such a great reputation, and with the Home Builders Association and with folks within the industry. We know a lot of people, and you had a great reputation from the beginning, so we knew that. Plus, Jimmy's got some shit on you, so I'm pretty sure we could, throw something over your head if we needed to.
I would, normally I would worry about that, but he tells everybody, so it's not like he's pocketing it. He lays it out there that I know. Some of it I'll never live down. Him and Andy just bring it up all the time.
It's growing up together. What do you get?
Yeah, exactly. So we, I'm so grateful. I think that's probably another thing about the relationship when you go to build a house is you have to have common respect for each other, and if you don't, we've got a list of red flags for customers that they come in and they start complaining about another builder, or they've been in lawsuits and things like that. We're pulling up red flags, and so I really appreciate that feedback. we enjoyed it. I've known you guys forever, and I'm so grateful that you would choose us to build that house and to work with you. And I hope that, whatever we do moving forward, we continue to do that. It's the biggest compliment you can get when you know somebody and you get to build their house and then you still remain friends. I mean, and that's really, really important.
Oh, absolutely. We think the world of you and Shannon, and of course the entire Wieland family. And we continue to recommend you to friends. And I know we've had a few friends build with you and people in the process of making a decision now. And, again, to anybody who's listening, making that decision, I mean, if you got to really trust that your builder is going to do the right thing, right? There's all kinds of people out there who are shady.
And you know this in politics is that I look at things sometimes and I'm like, well, why don't we just do that? Mm-hmm. And you forget that there's a million other people out there who wouldn't just do that.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why we have a building code. There's a reason why we have laws. There's a reason why we have checks and balances is because not everybody can follow into that suit. And so I appreciate what you're saying, but I was talking to my accountant the other day and he sits down and I've only been using him for about a year and he's skeptical. He's like, now, are you watching these numbers and what are you doing over here? So I took him through my process and he was like, oh, thank God. Because you have to run a business, you have to build, you have to have, you have to do. And I think that he deals with so many different people that are just shady upside down and don't have a clue. And it's so scary to know what happens out there.
Yeah.
One other thing that reminds me of you is I'll tell you when you were first running for office and supported you every time.
Thank you for that.
And I didn't do it just because I was going to, I know you, I think it's great, but then here's the reason why is because you called me and Shannon and we came over to your house. We ordered pizza. We sat down and we had like a 3-hour conversation about what you were all about, what you were going to do and why you wanted to run for office. And it was like, I don't know why you're a Democrat. I thought you're a Republican and I don't know why I'm a Republican. I thought I was a Democrat when I left there.
Right.
And so it was really, really cool. And I'm grateful for that, but it showed me who you were. And I'm always grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I value your opinion. I really have always had a great deal of respect for you. And we can always talk politics, whatever, and get to each other's understanding. Right. And I think that's really important. And I think that's why people work well together, whatever capacity it is you're working in.
Are we done kissing each other's ass? I mean,
you're really just an asshole.
You're just over there gritting your teeth going, I hate your guts. My house is horrible.
No.
And I just want to get out of here. And you only paid me for an hour. So again, seriously, I'm so grateful for you taking time out of your day to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's so great. We've been talking about having you on the show for a long time. And I'm glad we got to sit down. The best thing I like about this is no matter how well I know somebody, when I get them in here and we interview and we talk, we get to know more and more and learn more about people in the world who's listening gets to learn more about who you are and what you're doing. It was just been a great experience. So thank you very much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
And thanks for building with us.
Thank you.
And thanks for being my friend.
That's right. Thank you.
Hey, it's Kathy Wyenandt here on the WB Download. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That is Kathy Wyenandt. Her and her husband, Jimmy, like we said, they built a house with us a couple years ago, and she talked about the process, but she also told us her story about how she's ended up here in life. But if you go to our website, their house is named the Mulberry Ridge, and it is a spectacular home. I think you can hear it in my voice during the podcast of how excited I am about it. But check it out and see what Kathy's vision was for that thing, because it's really, really cool. Kathy and Jimmy both did an unbelievable job. They handled a lot of the exterior stuff with the pool and the landscaping, and which just brought this whole project all together, and it just looks awesome. So super proud of that, and I'm so excited that she came on the show and took time out of her busy schedule and her day to be here. I'm grateful for her for doing that. I'm grateful for me and Jimmy to be friends for all these years. So thank you both very much. And I can't just say, I just can't can't say it. Thank you enough. Thank you. Thank you to the audience today for listening and tuning in to this first episode of the WB Download for 2025. I think the next episode, we are going to have my good friends, Crosby and Roby Sims from Dayton, Ohio, from Sims Development. They are builders up there, and they build a lot of multifamily stuff, but we've been friends for a long time. We're going to discuss politics once again. We're going to discuss a handful of other things, family business. We're going to discuss what it's like to be multifamily. We're going to discuss home builders associations, and it's going to be fun because these guys, I think a lot of them, and it's going to be kind of cool to have them in there. So don't forget to subscribe to the WB Download on your favorite podcast service. Also, go over to YouTube and check us out on YouTube and subscribe to us there. I know these episodes are long. I want you to listen to them, and then I want you to come back and listen to them. You don't have to listen to them all in one day, but when you get some time, make sure that you hang out for a little bit. I hope it's informative. And if you ever want to be on the podcast, or you want to be part of the conversation, or whatever you got, send questions, topics, whatever you want to do, to the WB Download at wyelandbuilders.com. That's WB Download at WIELAND builders.com. Don't forget, we drop on the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. And this is our third consecutive year without missing an episode for the WB Download. And we're pretty excited about rolling into our third year. For more behind the scenes of the podcast and to learn more about Wyeland Builders, check us out at wyelandbuilders.com. See all the cool houses. Check out the Mulberry Ridge when you get there, and see what it all looks like. See what we could do here at Wyeland Builders. That's WIELAND builders.com. I want to say thank you again to Kathy for coming over here. If you haven't realized by now, I am grateful for this. Pretty excited about this podcast to have her here today. And like I said to her earlier on, it's just nostalgic for me to be able to have this relationship with those guys, and I get a little choked up about it, and Jimmy thinks I'm weird. Anyway, thank you again, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the WB Download. I'm Jeff Wyeland.